Welcome to Solutions from the Yard, a candid discussion about life behind bars and its effect on society. Your host for this episode is Charles Hopkins.
Welcome to this edition from Solutions from the Yard. I'm Charles Hopkins.
And my name is Michael Dickerson.
All right, and today, this is our Father's Day show, and we'll be dealing with Father's Day from the perspective of parents that are incarcerated and how they go about networking with their children, or do they network with their children, how they build relationships with their children. And we have a guest here today, but before I introduce our guest, I want to read something from this book called The Secrets of the Lives of Church Ladies. And in this book, they had this it's short story. They had this short story talking about letters the sisters wrote to a sister dealing with the father being father of multiple children, different mothers, same father. And they was talking about him, but they was writing one of their sisters they never met. And then she reflected on Father's Day. And this is what she said. I had to take a little break from writing you. Fix me another plate. Thinking about Father's Day at church years ago made me wonder what Father's Day was like for you and all the other days. Is it better to have the one big day of your father hurting you and not being around, or all the minor little days of him not being around, or not being around at all? And I'm saying that to say this here. Today we have a remarkable individual, and if I might say, like to talk, real brazen, and a good individual, got a good spirit. Darren, introduce yourself to the Solution from the Yard audience.
Okay, audience. My name is Darren Stephenson Sr. I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania, and my father, Larry Stephenson Sr., has been incarcerated 50 years, life without parole.
Okay, and that's now he set the table up. So as he served, as we put stuff on this plate, as he set the table up, now both me and Mike been incarcerated for a lengthy amount of time, and Mike, I'm gonna let Mike open up about his experience as far as, because when he was a parent, and he's a new parent today, and I'm gonna let him open up about his experience in dealing with his child incarcerated, and now that he's out, what his attitude is, Mike. And you can explore the information how you feel comfortable.
Well, my audience, they know that I was incarcerated for 24 years. And that wasn't my first time ever being incarcerated, but the 24 years that I did was the first time I was, incarcerated, and I had a child. My daughter was my first daughter. I want to say she was about to turn 1 when all these events came about, and I got incarcerated. She was just turning 1. During that time, I really didn't have no form of, relationship with her because of, the battle between the two families and things about my charge. And it was just a real big strain on me, far as, because, it was only my only child. So I wanted to be in her life. The powers that be wouldn't let me. So I want to say, once I got around like 17 years into my bit, that's when I first, had any form of, as far as verbal contact. Never had any physical, but always it was just verbal. And it was basically up and down. Mm-hmm. I wanted to be there, but like I said, it was just so many different complex components to it that it just made it real difficult. And basically I just decided that I was just going to wait till I get home, right? Because at that time it wasn't feasible for me or productive for me to even try to bridge that gap in the tender condition that I was in, far as emotionally, stuff like that. So it was basically like I had to just let that go. Mm-hmm. Because it could have really put a strain on how I did my time. Right. So when I came home, that strained relationship really I want to say, kind of got even more difficult. And after being out of prison for, a little over a year, I wind up, meeting the woman that I'm dealing with now. We have a 1-year-old child.
That's right.
So, and that was, that's a hell of an experience because, at the age of 53 having a child, it was like, almost kind of made me feel like Abraham and Sarah,
Okay.
So it's, but it's an experience that I would never trade for anything, just being around my daughter now. And she's actually bridged the gap between, her older sister and me.
Right. So
that's a blessing too. That's like a blessing sent from heaven, because she's kind of like, that medium between us, So, since she's, been on this earth, been on this planet, she basically kind of like bridging that gap. And that's a good thing. So now, I got both of my daughters in my life. My grandchildren, I'm just, getting to know them a little more. And it's just like I said, it's a very, what I want to say, emotional experience that I wouldn't put on nobody, because, when I come from a very family orientated family. My father been in my life all my life.
Right.
I don't know nothing about no living with my aunts, grandmothers, none of that. I was raised by my parents, period. So, just me being from that type of family setting, it really, it being away from my daughter like that hurt me a lot. And now that, like I'm trying to rebuild my life, that's like a real big part of it.
Okay.
That's a real big part of it.
And see, like now in my story, unlike yours, my daughter was born like a year before I got arrested, and her mother made a decision not to tell me about her. So when I found out about her from a friend of hers. But by then I'm caught up in the disease of addiction. I'm a drug addict, so really didn't really matter to me one way or the other, because pamper money was going to the cooker. Any money that was supposed to go to the baby was going to go to my aunt. So that right there, the decision she made based on that. And I never had no relationship with my daughter. When I during the course of my incarceration, I became aware, like people would like tell me about her. The last time I talked to her mother, I was in pre-release and I was getting ready to get out, and her mother said, I called her and she said, "Man, when you getting out?" I said, "Well, I'm getting out soon." She said, I said, "Well, what's up with your daughter?" She said, "Well, she got a boy and a girl, right? And my grandson, my granddaughter." So, I'm not pressing the issue, because now I'm kind of perplexed about, I ain't had nothing to do with this life, and I don't want to create no problem by putting myself in that, saying like, "Oh yeah, I'm your father." Well, she told me that he was my father, and now I'm creating more conflict than anything, right? So I'm saying I'm gonna let that go, and I'm gonna deal with it when I get out, right? So when I get out, the first thing I ask is, one of her friends, my daughter's mother a friend of my daughter's mother picked me up. So first thing I said, "Where Joyce at?" She said, "Man, I know you was gonna ask me that, right?" I said, "Yeah, where she at?" She said, "Man, she passed away." Now I'm like, okay, how do I bridge this gap? And I'm in the process of doing that now. But that comes from my lack of maturity, and I accept that responsibility, because I knew that I wasn't prepared to have no child. I knew that I wasn't emotionally mature enough to deal with no child. I knew that I'm on the road. The only reason why I'm alive today is because God saw it fit to pull me out of the muck. But really, my story, my epitaph has been, they found my body in the alley with a hypodermic needle in it. That's what my epitaph, that was the path I was on prior to getting locked up. And that's ultimately when I got locked up and did 48 years. When they say somebody, like you say, rescue me, Dietrich say he wouldn't change his experience for what, he said he changed what he did. Well, I wouldn't change my experience from going through that, because that right there saved me. But we set this table like this because in both our cases, and then like yours, Mike, I don't know nothing about like not having a father. my father always been around me. My father, look, from the time I could walk, my father kept me around them. Redskin games, everything dealing with raising a boy, or my father had that influence on me. So, and was always at the table whenever we ate as a family. We never ate at a table that my father was not at the head of the table, was not present. Only time we ate when he wasn't present would be on the weekend, when it was like hot dogs and beans, and the older children could cook them because they going somewhere and get drunk. And so they letting us have our little, like, okay, y'all, it's wind down time for y'all. Y'all can go do what y'all gonna do in the house. Outside that, I never knew that and never experienced that. So, my decision is my decision to do what I did. It wasn't like, oh, the parents and the lack of parent and that wasn't that. But saying that, we got an individual down here that, like, both like me and Mike have a relationship, have a situation with our children as it relates to our incarceration. But we got an individual right here that got the complete opposite of this. And this is a remarkable story in terms of him telling it, but it's not a remarkable story in terms of, like, people being incarcerated and serving time and how they build relationship with their children. I just think that this story right here is a story of the ages because of all the detail and attention that went into it. Darren, welcome to our show, bro. And we really appreciate you coming in to talk about your father. I know it's like something that you want to talk about, and I know it's something that you shouldn't have to talk about, right, in under the circumstances of where he's at, right? But tell us, first of all, how long your father been locked up?
All right, first I'm going to say thank y'all for having me on this podcast. I'm very happy to be here. I enjoyed listening to both of y'all stories. And my story is remarkable too, but it's like on the other side, right? They call children of incarcerated parents the hidden victims, right? And when you're a hidden victim, it's like a double-edged sword, right? If you don't take a step back and look at it from a different angle. So my father's been incarcerated January 14th of 2024, it'd be 50 years. And I was in kindergarten. I was 5, my brother was 6 when he went to prison. So one day we had the drive-in movie, having fun, me, him, my mom, my dad. The next day we're in the county jail, right? So we 5 years old. We can't read. We can't do anything. So he said, your dad's at Cheney State, which was the black house, was one block from the Delaware County Prison in Pennsylvania. So we would go there every night for 16 months. Then when he got his life without parole bit, he went to the penitentiary. So we would go every Saturday. There ain't no Saturday morning cartoon. Get up at 4, leave by 5, get there by 11, visit at 3, get back by 9. And that was every Saturday until I turned about 16 where I can start driving. And I was driving, me, my brother, and my mom. And then when I went to college, that's when I met, my girl over there. And then just like, I never talked about it. I never mentioned it. I got friends that I've been friends for 4 decades. They don't even know my father's been in jail. Because it's my story, right? And we made lemonade out of lemons, right? And me and my dad, we talk about it all the time in our visits. When we in that visiting room, it's like we floating on air. It's just us in there. It's like nobody in there.
And talk about that. Talk about, okay, because 5 and 6, okay? And as it stand there, how many bits have you did? How many times have you been locked up?
Who, me?
Yeah.
0.
Okay.
0.
How many times they caught you with a gun?
0.
How many narcotics have you sold?
In college, a little something,
okay,
but that was just to survive.
Okay, but my point is this here, right? Because they talk about when the parent, they talk about right today that it's the lack of the parents that's creating a problem with the children, or it's the lack of God. But how was your father able? Because right now you stand there, you're a parent, right?
Yes.
How many children you got?
2.
And how old are they?
25 and 29.
You got any grandchildren?
No grandchildren.
Yet.
Not yet. I'm on his back, but I had no grandchildren yet.
And you're married?
I was married.
Okay.
Divorced.
Okay, but you got your own.
Oh, yeah.
And where you working at right now?
So I work 3 jobs. I work in Prince George County Schools as a counselor administrator, alternative program. I work as a lead counselor for the PG County Walk-in Counseling Center, and I'm a family counselor for the city of Greenbelt.
So as it stand there, do you attribute all this to your father?
Absolutely. That's my hero.
Why do you attribute this to your father?
Because I learned from his mistakes, right? I learned early on that drugs was bad, committing crimes was bad, and I used every mistake he made to break the cycle. On the block that he's on right now currently, it's 5 sets of grandfather, father, and grandson, and everybody got life, right? So I know I got the examples what not to do. So I just make examples. My father used drugs. I don't mess with drugs. My father hurt people. He in jail for murder, robbery. I'm the counselor. I help people. My father went to work. I worked 3 jobs, and I got a master's degree. So I know the importance of being a parent. I know the importance of being a solid man, right, to be accounted for and to be the anchor. I'm the anchor on both sides of my family. And that's how it is. That's just how it is. And I play sports, so I learned a lot. My best friend, father, saved my life. When I was in college and I was on the wrong path, he talked to me one time, and I never got back off that path. So sometimes I tell young people that you got to go outside your family to get that support until you get where you're going. And you can't be afraid to ask questions. Me and my brother, we play sports. And my brother had a real bad anger problem. He cried for 1,000 days when my father went away. That was 3 years. And I knew young that I had to help people. And guess what saved his life? Football. When he played football, they called him Mr. Mean. He'd be out there crushing people. He almost made the NFL. So he took his anger and took it in a different way. But both of us are counselors because we got the scars.
Mike?
There's so many different questions I want to pose to this because you from Pennsylvania, but you currently in the metropolitan area.
PG.
You know what's going on far as with the youth and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
My thing is like, what tool or what advice you can give to a listener that went through this experience of parents being incarcerated? I always call it the syndrome that a lot of these young brothers and sisters going through. They go through the, I'm mad at everybody else because I ain't got a daddy syndrome,
Oh, yeah. What
is one of the main things that you would give to a young person that's going through that and they using that as their, their main excuse or why they acting out and stuff like that? What good advice you would give them?
All right, so I do that all the time, right, being a counselor, right? So depending on the age, right? So if I'm talking to a 10-year-old, I give it to him the 10-year-old way, right? But if I'm talking to a hard-headed teenager, I always say I'm talking to the man you're going to be 10 years from now when you're 25 and when things count. And you got to think things through. It's 3 areas that we struggle with as black men. 3 areas, all of us. I don't care how rich you are, how smart you are. Being impulsive, that split-second decision will ruin our lives. Self-discipline, knowing it's wrong, doing it anyway. And self-confidence. We don't have the confidence as men, some of us, if we don't work on it, that everything's going to be okay. And those are 3 things that I live and die on. I always use Bill Cosby as an example. He had $500 million. He had $500 million. He got a PhD, the highest degree you can get, and he still went to jail. Still went to prison with my father. So, you gotta think these things through. And I tell young people, I'm talking to the person who'll be 10 years from now, that if you make a bad decision, it's hard to come back. And I use example. My father, for example, I got a nephew who killed the ice cream man when he was 15 that had life. Now he got 31 to life. And he ain't really my nephew. He my roommate in college, son. So I got the stories and I got the pictures in my phone and I'll be talking to him. I feed them, you right? I try to meet them where they are. And I speak from the heart. Like I said, I give it to them straight with no chaser.
How old are you, Darren?
55.
All right, and you said earlier we was talking. You said that from your father wrote. You said you got so many letters from your father, and you said, okay, talk about how your father put himself in your lives and made sure that he did productive things. But give us some examples, some of the things he did with you.
I'm gonna take you back
during the course of his 50 years of being in imprisonment.
I'm gonna take you back to day one. So he in the county jail now, 1974, and he would call it school time. And he would have these practice GED tests. And he would give me and my brother, we 5 years old, kindergarten, first grade, practice GED tests. And we better not look up. And while him and my mom visit for 3 hours. Every report card went to the penitentiary for inspection. We couldn't get no bad grades. When we was in school, I see my buddies 3 times a day, walking to school, lunch, and coming back. They wasn't in none of my classes. We couldn't get bad grades. My father wasn't the one. Education was first. And when he was in jail, it took him 13 years to get his associate's degree, another 5 to get a bachelor's degree. In 1988, he did so well, they let him walk in commencement with plainclothes detectives. I'm telling you, my father's the truth. My father was so good in sports, and he shot dope. He did all that stuff. That's why he killed that man in the bar robbery to support his heroin addiction. But he was so good in football when he went to jail, they named him after O.J. Simpson. His jail name is Juice. They still call him Juice 50 years later.
Why did tell me this here? Why did you you know, because like we have all these examples, and the parent being like having some kind of impact, but at some point in time, the kid, you get 16, okay, what you gonna hit me across the counter? What you crash glass? What?
Right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. What?
Right.
Jump across that counter, I get the police to beat you, right? You know, you got all these type of situations where the kid get, okay, I ain't look, the mother on the phone, you need to talk to Junior.
Right.
What you want to tell him talk to me for? Come to the phone and see if I don't put this gun on you. You got these kind of situations where kids, at some point, they start out respecting, but when they get what they consider emancipated,
right,
they change. They go into their own.
Absolutely.
What was it about your father's presence in your life that made you and your brother see that, respect him enough to say, "You're my father. What you say goes, and that's what I'm gonna do." What was it about that?
See, all right, I'm gonna go back to day one. First of all, my father wasn't a guy. My father's the reason why they started hiring black cops, because the white cops could not get him into custody. He'd be out there fighting for hours. It'd be 10 cops on the porch sleep, and we little boy, we looking through the window, so he never had to beat me. And my father, like I say, he had a heroin addiction. So my little cousin, my bigger cousin, 8 years older than me, had a paper route. He would walk up to him, beat him up in 2 punches, take his paper route money. I'm sitting right there. My father was a real bad drug addict, and he wasn't that one. So if he say something, you better listen. And then when he was in jail, you know what he used to do? He used to send people home. Anybody come on furlough, go check on my sons. Here they come, right? Ringing that bell, big strong guy. He wasn't the one. And then when him and my mom divorced in 1979, he would find us rides. My first jailhouse uncle, Big George Brad, 6'8". He was the lieutenant for the Black Panther. Was my first jailhouse uncle. He would come get us, take us to his house for the weekend, and take us to go see our father. That's the influence my father had in prison. I'm telling you.
So your father always wanted to be in y'all lives.
Always.
And as a result of that, what?
Hey, 4 letters a week. I can fill this building up with letters. 4 letters a week for 50 years. 4 letters a week. To this day, he called me every Sunday. I go visit him every 3 months. But every Sunday he called me at 1 o'clock. I send him 5 packets of information for everybody to read. That's what I do. All I do is read. I don't watch television.
Yeah.
I'm a disciplined black man. You got to be.
Mike?
Because I got the scars, man. Look, I always teach my son. He get to talk. I said, where your scars at, man? Where your scars? You don't have no scars. I'm right here with you. Right here with him. And I learned from all my scars. So them scars is going to make or break you. And I tell people, ain't nothing wrong with jail. Jail is a dark place, but it'll wake you up like smelling salts. I met some nice guys, a lot of jailhouse uncles that I had that were no blood uncle that did more for me than my uncles in the street. Gave me my best advice. They told me when I was a little boy, whatever you do, just be the best. I know I'm the best counselor in the world. That's what I do. I got every award as a counselor. I got the governor's citation, Hogan, for being a counselor in PG schools. I got every award. Because my jail, not my mom, not my dad, my jailhouse uncle told me to be the best that you can be. Big George Brad. Oh, yeah.
So your father, he basically, because from what I'm hearing, that's like, I never heard nothing like that before. Like, because like I said, when I was growing up, like I said, my father, he was always present. And basically, like, your father was still present, and he was still present even when he was in prison, because he had such a dominant effect that he was like basically reaching out even when he was in prison. He was always in contact, and that's what I see that's very important, was him being in contact, never letting his foot up off of y'all, always staying, on y'all necks for real. And that's like, really, I don't really have a big comeback for that, because I mean, what could you say? Because it was no giving up with him, and that's the thing that I want to commend your father on. He never gave up, and he never just sunk into his bit and let anything interfere with that. And I think that was the most important thing. As far as what I want to say is that impact that he had. Did it ever seem like at one point in time that you didn't have a father and you wanted to give up?
Nah, not with him. My father, he's read the Bible and the Quran twice in his 50 years. This man's sharp. He's a history buff. He knows how to talk to people. I'm telling you, he's my hero. That's my guy. right? And that's why I soldier for him today. I make sure every time I get paid Tuesday, I put money on his books. I don't let my father suffer in jail because he's too old to work. I take care of him. And if you have influence on your children young, they ain't gonna forget. They won't forget.
Right.
And I had a strong mom too. My mother was a soldier. And that's a whole nother podcast we talk about her. But I had a strong mom too. So I knew early on. I knew early on, man. And, you know, and with these kids today, they're living in a different world. We didn't have social media. We didn't have cell phones. Right. We didn't have all this mess, Grand Theft Auto. So they living in a perverted world. And parents today, you got to have parent skills. You can't do what our mom and dad did, willy and nilly. Can't do that. You're going to be ineffective. It's too much. It's too much to contend with. So kids lose their innocence early, and they be out there doing it. And some of them, to get too far gone, you can't bring them back.
Right, exactly.
Can't bring them back.
And you even mentioned one observation I want to make is how your father, and I respect this wholeheartedly, how your father, you know, like he stayed present in your lives, but more importantly, how your father, people that got out of the institutions, how he sent these people, he trusted these people that they would honor his wishes to be a part of y'all lives.
Absolutely.
And when these people came out and became a part of your life, how influential was they in terms of the people that came into your lives that you call your prison uncle? How do you still have contact with some of them?
Absolutely.
Are they still alive? Do you really believe that do you look at them as an uncle?
Absolutely.
And have you introduced them to your family as an uncle?
Absolutely.
All right.
So Big George Brad, my first jail zone, he died years ago. But I got a lot of jailhouse brothers, right? Young guys who's in jail with my father and love my father to death. I got a young man now, he my age. You know what he do every 2 weeks? He get a video visit with my father, get on his phone and drive my father around the town, take him to see all his classmates, his friends. I'm like, what? Love my father to death. I'm telling you, some young men that's gotten out is doing well, and they will not turn their back on my dad. I'm telling you, they do everything for him. So I said, when he get out, I'm paroling to your house. Y'all can have him. I'm paying y'all child support if he get out. But my father he's just one of those good guys, man. He just went to jail young, you know, because he grew up as a teenager during the height of the civil rights movement. My father lived right across the street from the skating rink. He only go one night a week, every night, Wednesday. And the rest of the nights to see white folks go. And then the one night they can go, they take all the good skates out and put all the bad skates. They had to carry pliers over there to fix the skates. I mean, it was hard for him. He had a football scholarship, 1967. He didn't know. He had graduation. They say Larry Stephenson, football scholarship, Norfolk State. He looks at my grandfather, where's that at? They ain't even tell him, man. Do you know to this day his football coach at 90 years old come all the way from Maine to go see my father in jail?
Okay, thank you, Darren. We have to... We really appreciate you coming and talking to us about this aspect of prison father raising his child. As we can see that, like in your case, and I know other men who raised their children from within and have similar stories, but not to the depth that yours is. And we thank you for coming, and we'll continue this conversation again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
You've been listening